Today's segment of Sound Balming is brought to you by Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care. I cannot express to you how much we love their products. Although we use them all year, as the weather gets colder, we need these products even more. The dreaded drop in temperature, the dryness, the itchiness, and the unnecessary flakiness is inevitable. Shea butter from Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care is the only thing that works for my skin and hair needs. Not only do these products cure my dry skin, the whipped butter goes on smoothly and doesn't leave that uncomfortably thick, sticky residue. Bonus? It smells absolutely amazing. There are so many different scents to choose from too. Not only do they carry skincare products, there are products for authentic living, face, shower, hair and beard, spritzers and perfumes, and bath products. Let me tell you, we cannot even keep the stuff in the studio. The entire production team as well as all our children use Jimmy and Mary's product. Jimmy and Mary's take pride in creating quality, handcrafted products from simple ingredients for the entire family. Their products are made for all skin types and are 100% handmade, 100% vegan, and 100% cruelty-free. Skincare is important. Moisture is key, and keeping our skin and hair hydrated is essential. I cannot emphasize how much we trust Jimmy and Mary's for all of our skincare needs. Hurry on up to jimmyandmarys.com and check out their products. Did I mention service is fast and efficient too? Don't forget to mention that you heard about Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare on Sound Balming. Use the discount code SOUNDBALM20 to get 15% off. That's SOUNDBALM20 for 15% off at Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bombs. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Lamar Darnell Shields.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time of the day is, you're at the right time, at the right place, with the right person. Welcome to my show. I am Dr. Lamar Darnell Shields, the creator of Sound Bombing. And my goal with this show is to introduce you to people with the ideas that will help you unlock your full potential. Like my last guest, Deneen Joyner. Deneen is a soul medium spiritual coach, storyteller, whose mission is to guide others on how to follow their footprints left by their spiritual ancestors to uncover their spiritual inheritance. And today we're going to talk about some type of inheritance. We're going to talk about storytelling. We're going to talk about how do you engage one another. We're going to be joined right now with my good friend, Brenden. Brenden is the founder of MasterTalk, a YouTube channel. He started to help the world master the art of public speaking and communication. He coaches purpose-driven entrepreneurs on how to master their message and their ideas with the world. Just like Brenden and I travel across the country, engaging people in stories, telling their stories, encouraging them to share their life stories, but then also to help build brands about their stories and being connected. So I'm so excited that Brenden decided to hang out with me in the bomb shelter today. Brenden, what's up, brother? How are you, man?
Very good, Lamar. How about yourself, man?
I am great, man. Brenden is so chill. It's interesting. I got a chance to see Brenden's videos, man, and he, like me, is on fire. So to come into the sound, he's like, man, I'm just chill. It's a Saturday, man. I'm relaxing. Brenden, let my listeners know where you're calling in from. And then I always like to do a a wellness check-in because we're dealing with a pandemic, right, Brenden? So let us know where you're calling in from and how are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Life's always great, Lamar. Can't complain. I'm based in Montreal and born and raised in the city and never plan on leaving anytime soon. But yeah, no, life is good. And in terms of COVID, yeah, I don't have it, so I'm pretty fortunate. Montreal's pretty tight on the lockdown, but hey, it's okay. I mean, I get to spend time with my family and gives me other opportunities like to be on the show.
Hey, well, man, we are so excited that you decide to hang out with us at the early part of the year because you, like I know, Brenden, a lot of people have these what they call New Year's resolutions. And believe me, they end like after January 2nd. I always tell people, why do you have to start on January 1st? The best day to start is today. And so even though you are maybe quarantined like I am because of COVID, you have mastered something. You've mastered using social media, YouTube to get your message out there across the masses. I was being honest when I said I got a chance to see some of your videos and how you're able to captivate individuals. I love storytelling. Being a person of African descent, we have what they call griots, and griots are people that tell these stories, share their stories. And Brenden, you may not know this. I also have created a storytelling series called Shortcuts, where I work with people of color, only people of color. And the reason why, Brenden, is because I don't think our stories are get out there enough. And it's no disrespect to any other culture, but our stories don't get out there. And I decided to create a storytelling series. Basically started out with Black barbers, and then it went from African American barbers to then people who wanted to share their stories. So tell us about yourself, and then why did you decide that you want to create MasterTalk and then engage individuals around the art of storytelling?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So when I was in university, I used to do these things called case competitions. Think of it like professional sports, but for nerds. So other guys my age were playing rugby or soccer or football or baseball. Not really my thing. What I did instead is I applied that same competitive spirit, but to presentations. So for 3 years, I presented hundreds of times. And really, the goal from those practices and coaching all those students wasn't really to be a YouTuber or a speech coach. It was just to get a job in corporate America. And I got a great job after I graduated. But then after that, I asked myself a much more important question, which is what do I do with the remaining time that I have? How do I make a difference in the world? And that's when the idea for MasterTalk came to be, because I realized a lot of the videos out there on public speaking are really bad online. You hear advice like, "Oh, Lamar, you should go outside, get up on stage," and you're just like, "Wait, what? Like, what's the tip?" So I started making videos in my mother's basement. One thing led to another, and yeah, the rest is history.
So where does this passion, before we get into what you do, where did this passion of wanting to give back come from? Because again, most college students can be very, very self-centered. I taught at Johns Hopkins University. I was a high school teacher, and quite often many of young people can be self-centered, but I'm seeing a shift with us giving back. Where did that passion for you wanting to give something back to the world come from?
Yeah, I'm sure a large part of that came from my mom. My mom's probably one of the most generous people I know, and she's just an incredible spirit. It's this great story I always like to tell. It's called the $10 story. I was standing in front of a bus stand when I was 10, and I found a $10 bill on the floor, and I was really excited because we didn't really have that much money growing up. So I gave it up to my mom one day, and I said, "Hey, Mom, I found $10 on the floor." The first thing she asked me was, "Are you sure it wasn't somebody else's, like around you?" Whether I was lying or not is another thing, but I said no, and there was nobody else around the bus stop. But then she looked at me and she said, "I remember a couple of years ago, this was a long time ago, and she immigrated to Montreal. She was walking on the street once, and she noticed that a couple of girls in front of her stepped on a $20 bill on the floor. Like it was just on the floor lying around. And she's a very petite woman. She's always looking at the floor when she's walking. So she picks up the $20, and here's what she said after. She said, "Oh yeah, I found a $20." And then she said, "And I used the $20 to feed my friend's children because they didn't have any food to eat that day." And I just went, whoa. But she said it so casually, like she was going to the grocery store, right? Like she was getting a cup of coffee in the morning. So I think what I realized from that experience is giving is just an innate part of our family, of our culture, of who we are as individuals. And the other thing I want to mention is I'm self-centered too. I'm a pretty selfish dude, but I think the difference is because I was selfish first, I was able to fill my own cup. So now I could spend the rest of my life chilling and helping other people fill their cup.
Such a great story. So what excites you about public speaking? What really excites you when you get on that stage? Or let's before we get into being on stage, I like to talk about the power of intention, because before I get you into the space, there's some things that I do. There's some things that I do even when my engineer or producer sends me your name. There's some things that I look at. I close my eyes before I start to read anything. How do you prepare for a speech? And then what type of feeling do you get when you get on stage or when you're in front of the camera? Because quite often, like you and I both, we really can't get on stages anymore because of COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say for me, intention always stems from belief systems. Like, why are you there? Why are you giving this camera presentation on YouTube? Why are you on the stage? Why are you in this podcast? And it's through those conversations with yourself that you start to develop that belief system. And then you do really well, hopefully, in what you're doing. So for me, I hated making YouTube videos in my first year. It's not something I particularly enjoyed doing. The reason why I did it was because I noticed that if I don't do it, no one else is going to. Right? There's a lot of people in the world who have ideas to share but can't afford a communication coach. Because as you know very well, they're very expensive. So I had a choice to make. Do I just climb up the corporate ladder like I was supposed to? I wanted to be one of the youngest executives at IBM or any company that I was working at. Or do I focus my attention on building something that can help the 99%? To everyone else who can't really have the resources, but still have great ideas to share anyways. And it was from that decision that I was able to set the right intention. So when I started making those camera presentations, I didn't really have an intention. I was kind of just presenting. And then over time, I developed a skill for it. And now the reason I do it is for those people. Same thing when I get up on stage. What's the outcome that I desire from this presentation? What am I trying to do? Why am I here? And it's through those questions that I'm able to internalize, to focus my mind on delivering the outcome that I seek.
It's interesting, man. You are in such a profession that is so challenging. When you look at statistics on the number one thing, Brenden, that people are afraid to do, that is to get in front of a group of people and to talk, to tell a story, to engage them, to do anything. That's why I love comedians. But the challenge of being a comedian, almost like a public speaker, once you say something funny, they're waiting for you to say something funny one more time. And then once you say something funny one more time, they're waiting for somebody to tell you something one more time. So how do you then, or what's your strategies to engage people who are part of this group of individuals that the data says are afraid to engage or speak in front of a crowd of people? What are some of the tricks and tools that you use? And then what is the art of storytelling as well? Because I believe it is an art.
I love it. That's a loaded question. I love it. So the key is, let's break that down. So let's start with fear of public speaking. The way that I think about it is we need to change the mindset and the language that we associate to communication, Lamar. So I'll give you an example. When you think about communication, what do you think of? You think of a chore. You think of your high school presentations where you had to present topics you didn't care about to students who didn't care to listen to you because they're worried about their own presentations, and to teachers who unfortunately didn't have time to coach you because the education system forces them to run through these people, right, in presentations and not give them any form of coaching on how to present. So no wonder we're scared of public speaking. If 100% of all of the presentations you've given in your lives are to students who don't want to listen to you, to topics you never get to pick, to teachers who can't coach you because they don't have time, makes perfect sense as to why we're scared of public speaking. So we need to change the perception that people have of the skill from it being a chore, like doing the dishes or mowing the lawn, to a way to make a difference. In the same way you're using it right now to convey a message and to share an idea, we need to start doing that with people. So for me, the number one exercise is this question that I would love for people to reflect on. So don't just take a note on it, take action on it too. And the question is, how would the world change if you were an exceptional communicator? How would the world change if you or an exceptional communicator? If you find an answer to that question, you'll start to associate public speaking to something more empowering, to a way to make a difference. And that's how you solve that. Any thoughts on that? Then I can talk about storytelling.
Yeah. So what do you feel are some of the rules, though, of great storytelling? Because one of the things that I enjoy about the Shortcut Show, this series that I created, and it started with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his barber, Brenden. I met his barber, still living, man.
Really?
87 years young, Mr. Nelson Malden. And I met him. And you go into this barbershop, Brenden, and you never get a haircut. He was still old. He was still owning a barbershop. But everybody who comes in wants to know his connection to Dr. King, because you know when someone is cutting your hair. So I decided, like, if I want to know this, I'm sure that there are thousands of people that want to know the same thing. So then what I did was I created a storytelling series around him, and I brought all these other barbers, because you know barbers, like beauticians, they have all of these different stories. And so what I loved about what I did was I took non-actors, people who have no acting ability at all, put them in a real barbershop or a barbershop that we created. And I had them tell their stories, but we coached them because, again, you know, we have stories on top of stories on top of stories on top of stories. Like, no, tell me one story. But what I did was I studied storytelling, and I really studied a lot around Pixar. And I studied one individual from Pixar whose name I cannot think of. I'm so sorry. And he taught, his whole statement is, make me want to care. The whole thing is making me want to care. So with that being said, what do you feel are some of the rules of effective storytelling?
Yeah, I think you're referencing Ed's work, and yeah, he's a great guy. But yeah, I think the way I think about it, first of all, that is epic. That's such a cool project. Wow.
Man, I love it, man. Hey, Brenden, it is listen. It is one of the funnest things. And I would love to pull you in, because we can do it virtually. We bring in coaches to come work with some of these individuals, not just the barbers, but other folks. It is the coolest thing to see. And not because I'm a part of it, but to take a person, you know this as a coach, to take a person who has no experience at all. No, when we talk about degrees experience, but they do have experience, and put them into an atmosphere to share their story is beautiful, it's life-changing, and it's an amazing process to see.
That's beautiful, man. Love
Thank
what you're
you.
doing. That's great. Great
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the topic of storytelling, I'm a bit different than most people in my industry, Lamar, in the sense that I believe storytelling isn't necessarily something you should start practicing right away. And the reason I believe that, in the context of public speaking anyways, and how you communicate your ideas verbally, is storytelling is very challenging for most, because it's like trying to ride a two-wheeler bike without ever riding a four-wheeler. Right? You're kind of just getting there really quickly. So my opinion is start with the foundations first. Silences, ums and ahs, eye contact. Get some quick wins first. Get really good. Because if you're really good story, you have a really nice story, but you're really bad at communicating it, it's gonna sound something like this: once upon a time. And so notice how, like, because your foundation isn't good, it's hard for you to speak it out. So with that said, I'm happy to share a couple of things about storytelling. So I'd say the first way of understanding it is, if I were to summarize storytelling in one sentence, it would be as follows. Storytelling is showing the audience that you understand them more than they do. Storytelling is showing the audience that you understand them more than they do. The reason we like Disney movies, to your point, the reason we watch those films, it's not because we can relate to the characters, but rather because we can relate to stories of those characters that we've been through in our lives. Whether it's Ariel from The Little Mermaid, whether it's Frozen, whether it's any other movie, it's because of their personal stories that we relate to them. Same thing with when a speaker gives a message. The reason we're attracted to them is not necessarily because of their alcoholic father, but because we had one too. So we relate to that person and that person's story. So that's the general framework. I go into a lot more details on the channel. But
No, I love you just really open my mind and my eyes to really think about that, because one of the things that we do, and I have a director, each one has a storytelling coach that works with these individuals, but I really like your perspective about that, relating to that character and then almost knowing them better than they know themselves. So what's one of the struggles that you're seeing? You know, how do we struggle Why do we struggle so much with public speaking when speaking is so natural for most of us?
Very easy analogy to explain this. The reason is we don't know how to practice public speaking, but we know how to practice every other skill. So piano is a good way of thinking. It's like the instrument. So there's two ways of mastering the piano, even if I haven't mastered the piano. The first way is to take 50 different songs and figure it out. You take this Mozart, Bach, and then you try and do all this, mesh it up together. And if you're Mozart, that's going to work. But unlike most of us, we're not Mozart, so it doesn't work. Second strategy, much more effective, that you probably guessed, one song 50 times. You pick one song and you practice that one song over and over and over and over again until you've mastered it. So let's say me and you go to a nice fancy gala, and then we're there, we see a piano there, and you're like, okay, I know that song, Brenden, that we practiced. So you sit there, you play the song, and everyone's just like, wow, Lamar, you're so incredible. Could you do another one? And then you just look at them, and you go, not tonight. Walk away, they go, wow, this guy's so mysterious.
That's kind of cool. It makes it mysterious. Like, no, you only get one today. All right. The next one I'm going to have to charge you for.
I feel like you've done this. I feel like we've been to this party.
Man, that sounds so smooth right there, man. Especially if I'm wearing a black coat and a black hat and sunglasses.
Yes. Okay. You're my kind of guy, man. But yeah, absolutely. Right. So even if we only know one song, people still think we're a pianist. People still think we're incredible at the instrument. But we don't do that in public speaking. Because every presentation, for most people out there, not in your case because you've been on radio, but for most, they're always presenting the presentation that they're doing the first time. So whether it's at school where they're switching their presentations, whether it's at work where it's always status updates or different things that they need to work on, they don't do what the best in the world do, which is one talk hundreds of times. Tony Robbins is a good example of this. Tony's been doing the same damn keynote for 40 years.
And getting paid.
I mean, sure, we could add that. But I think the part I want to emphasize is, yes, I mean, he definitely gets paid because people expect that expertise from him. Right? We're not going to go to one of his conferences and he comes up to you and he goes, Lamar, you want to talk about porcupines? I'm tired of this mindset stuff. Like, no.
But you know what's interesting? You bring up a great, man, you are nailing it. You bring up a great point because think about this. Think about your favorite artist, okay? Whatever genre of music you listen to, you expect to go and hear that song. I've gone to concerts where artists have new music out. Nobody wants to hear it. And it's crazy. They're like, and that's why they try to intertwine some of the new and the old music in. But if you say, all right, I'm going to play a new album, people are like, no, I did not come here to hear a new album. I want to hear the old stuff. So you do bring up a really, really great point. But I want to go a little further with this. Let's talk about virtual speaking, because many of us are in the virtual space. And I'm a school teacher by trade, taught for years, not teaching now. But as a teacher and also as a speaker, it's harder to get things to land virtually. So there's a speaker out there who wants to continue his or her work, telling stories or being a facilitator virtually. What steps do you then have to be effective virtually that may or may not work in real time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think an easy way to understand this, Lamar, is that the difference between the online world and the in-person one is that in online, you can't gauge your audience's reaction as much. So let's say me and you were...
And is that important to you as a speaker? Let's stop right there for a second. Is that important to you as a speaker to engage the audience?
Of course, right?
Okay.
And I think the best way of doing that, on a side note, is really just doing the same presentation over and over again. But in the context of this, let's say me and you are based in the same city. I come to your place or your company, and I'm presenting to the people at the radio show. And I say a joke during the workshop. Two things happen when I do that. One, you either laugh and you go, "Whoa, Brendan's such a funny guy. Look at him. So great." Or two, which is much more likely, you'll look at me and go, "Wow, this guy's not. Why is he saying jokes? He's got to stick to his public speaking, man. Like, this is crazy." But it's because of that nuance that I can adapt my presentation on the fly. If I notice that I'm not funny, or you don't find me funny, I can adapt and be more theoretical. The opposite is also true. But that doesn't apply to the online world. When there's nobody showing their cameras, when everyone's on Zoom, everyone's off, you have to say the same joke, but this time you have to assume it's funny. And that is a very different distinction. It's a very important one, I would add. So how do you fix this? Couple of things. One is always stare into the lens of the camera. That's the first step to mastering online presentation. The way you do this is a trick I like to use. You put a picture of somebody,
Or stare at the light.
or stare at the light. Yeah, that works too. but yeah, you know, for me, the trick is just to put a picture of somebody that you love, a favorite food, maybe one of your friends or somebody. Just put the picture there. You're always going to look at the lens. It's much easier to do that. That's one. Two is do practice virtual rooms. So what I do is I get friends to come on a Zoom call with me, like this one, and they go, Brett, I don't like the way you're dressed. This is a professional event. Change, blah, blah, blah. Make those changes. Super easy. Number three, it's counterintuitive, but it works. Get on a phone call with somebody that you know is in the audience. Get to know them, understand who they are, so it's much easier for you to speak to them. Because one of the challenges, as you know, with the online world, is how do you show up with the same energy as you would in person? So that's the 3 tips I would give.
Mm. Yeah, one of the things that I've been successful with, and I'm grateful for this, is that I continue to bring that energy. Like people like, yo, this guy is always fired up, because I know it is harder in the virtual space to do that. But I can be a little more animated more and more than I probably would be personally, because I am a person who I thrive off people's energy. I like to touch, I like to engage, I like to walk around, I like to be in a space and feel people's energy. So it is kind of challenging looking directly at a camera. But I've done TV. I did TV years and years ago. I used to do a TV show for teens. So, I learned how to look in that lens and read a teleprompter and all of that. But I'm a person who thrives on the energy of individuals. And I know that people who are in these Zoom meetings who are struggling. That's why I wanted to ask that question. Not Zoom, whatever platform that you're using. I know people are in these rooms. They're really, really struggling, trying to engage, trying to fire people up. And you can't see the faces. The one thing I know about comedians love the light, to have the light on the audience. They want to be able to, you never see a comedian in a room and it's dark. And they'll say, bring the lights up so they can see the expressions, because you want to build off of that energy. You want to move toward that room. If you're getting some energy from this side, if you're not getting some energy from that side, you want to sort of stay away from that side. So it's really, really important to do that. So what advice do you have for individuals who want to get started? Like, I am in this space and I want to start it as a public speaker. Walk me through some of the things that you did, because they may not work for me, but I want to hear what you did, and then share with some of the listeners what you think that they can do to then follow sort of in your footsteps of some of the other people that you have respect for in the business.
Absolutely, Lamar. It's a great question. So here's part one. If you just do this, whether you want to be a pro or not, it's going to 10x your communication skills in the context of presentation. So let's dive into that. I call this the puzzle method. So public speaking, Lamar, in my opinion, is like a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, you know those jigsaw puzzles you used to do as a kid, kind of putting those pieces together? So if I asked you, Lamar, if you were working on a puzzle yourself, which pieces would you start with first and why?
If I was working on a jigsaw puzzle myself,
You got it.
I would probably start with the edges. I would look for the edges.
And what would the rest? No, yeah, go ahead.
Because the edges, you know where the edges are going to go. Now, you don't know what they're going to fit in, but you know that they are the base of the puzzle.
You got it, man. So now the question we need to ask ourselves is, why don't we do that in public speaking? We have a presentation at work, in the conference room, in the boardroom, in the classroom. So what do? We do the opposite. We start with the middle first. We shove a bunch of content in the presentation. We get to the presentation. We ramble through the entire thing. We get to the last slide, and it sounds something like this. Yeah, so thanks. And that's probably 95% of the presentations I hear. But there's an easy way to fix it. Treat your presentations like a jigsaw puzzle. Start with the edges first. Practice your introduction 50 times, not 3 times. not 5 times. Do it 50 times. It's actually not that hard. It seems like a big number, but your introduction's a minute max, so it's not that long. Same thing with the conclusion. What's a great movie with a terrible ending? Last time I checked, terrible movie. 50 times the conclusion. In 2 hours of practice, you'll look at your presentation and go, wow, my introduction and conclusion is really good. Really good at this thing. And then with that newfound confidence you never had before, then dive for the middle. But remember, nobody does 2,000-piece puzzles alone. Get a team together, get a community. It doesn't need to be a coach. It can be friends, it could be pals, people that want to work on their communication skills with you. And that is how you master the public speaking puzzle.
So then you go from mastery to monetizing this. Now, talk to me about how you monetize your public speaking ability, because the reality is we cannot live like our parents live, where they work for jobs forever and ever and ever. They get those things. So we are in this hustle and bustle, but people want to have these little side hustles. How do we then monetize our public speaking ability?
Man, you all about getting paid, aren't you?
Hey man, they are. I'm doing okay by the grace. I'm doing okay. I have some work that's out there, but I want to get my listeners to be self-sufficient. I want them to learn it, whatever the art is, if it's painting, if it's poetry, if it's dancing, if it's singing, but I want them to be our bodies are an expressive of artwork, and I want them to share it, but then I also want them to be compensated for their gifts, because like I do, you said calling your friends. I mean, I have so many people, like, if you call me one more time and ask me how the camera looks, if you call me one more time to do a mic or a sound check, if you call me one more time and ask me, is there something in my eye, I will not pick up the phone. But they do pick up because they want us to do extremely well.
I'm with you, man. That's powerful.
So let's talk about the monetization of their gifts.
Of course. Here's the good news with public speaking. It doesn't really matter what you do. Public speaking will increase your income regardless. And the reason is because it's a multiplier effect. If you work at a company and you're the best communicator at your level, you get promoted on soft skills, not hard skills at work. And this is true for most jobs. So if you know how to navigate that communication barrier, the way that you talk to others, you'll get promoted really quickly in a company. That's like a base level. But this is true with anybody. Artists, people in the radio space. The better you are at communication, the easier it is for you to deliver and communicate your value proposition to everyone else. That's another part. And then, of course, there's a third part, which is using public speaking as a means for sales. If you're a business owner, the best way to make sales for a business is to speak on a stage. If you're speaking on a radio show, you're speaking in front of 50 people, in front of 500 people at an auditorium, it's a lot easier to convert people because they already trust you right there. You're right in front of them, and you're giving them advice. You're the thought leader. You're the expert. So yeah, public speaking is a high, as we call it, it's a high income skill. So trust me, and that's why Warren Buffett says it was the best investment he ever made. You want to start thinking about how would the world change if you're an incredible communicator, not just from the context of social impact, but also from the context of the work that you do, what you're actually good at, and how you can use public speaking to amplify that.
Now, as a public speaker, what are some of the other tricks and trades that you use to become better? Or do you journal? Is there a form of meditation? Do you read other books? Do you listen to other speakers? What are some things that you typically do to sharpen your skills?
Absolutely. And I'm happy to give the exercise. It's something people can do easily every single day. It's called the random word exercise. So all you do is you pick random words, like objects in your house, camera, basement, and you make presentations out of thin air. You do that 5 minutes a day, 5 presentations, 1 minute each. In 30 days, you'll be a lot more confident in public speaking.
Man, I'm laughing right now because, man, my kids think I am so crazy when I do this. Something will come up, and let's just say Nipsey Hussle. I'm going to use that as an example, hip hop artist, who was recently, actually almost a year ago. And I'll be like, yeah, because Nipsey Hussle, when I watch this video, and I would do things like that. And my kids would laugh, but I would tell them I'm practicing, and I'll get in their faces because I'll be very, very passionate about it. We'll be making cookies because, we choose the vegan cookies over the non-vegan cookies because of these things. And we get into the morsels and the taste, and they would just be cracking up. And it made me feel good because if they're responding that way, either they're looking at me like, this dude is insane, or man, I really want to eat a cookie, or I really want to go watch a Nipsey Hussle video. I really want to go watch a yoga workout. But I love that. That's a great exercise, pulling it out of the sky, throwing a word, looking at something to really get you inspired. And see, what I'm loving about what you're doing, these are things that, the average person can do. You don't need to go out and order buy a public speaking course, and which we encourage them to do because I want them engaged with you and others. But there's some basic things that we all can do. And this is a good time to learn a new skill. I was listening to Tom Bilyeu on Impact Theory, one of my favorite shows. He was like, this is a really, really good time to learn a new skill. You just talked about Warren Buffett. It really, really, storytelling alone is $1 billion industry. And most of the brand, like, let me ask you this. Which of the brands out there that exist you think has one of the best stories? Like, if there's a brand that has a really, really good story, which one is that?
There's so many, but if I had to pick one in particular that I'm a fan of, definitely Airbnb. I think the way that they storyboard is really smart because they realized early everyone knows what Airbnb is, but the point is this service existed before Airbnb was created. VRBO, home away, like you rent out for your house, your room in your house, and you get paid to do it. But what's fascinating about Airbnb is what they realized when talking to their users early in the game, that the way you scale this to the world, the way you get everyone to do this, is to scale trust. If everyone trusts each other on the platform, people will want to transact. And if those transactions happen, then you scale. And that's how they came up with their tagline, belong anywhere, everywhere.
And trust is important in storytelling as well, and in public speaking. Like, you have to trust that this person who is sharing this story or who's giving this talk is going to be honest with who they are, going to give you some strat. Would you agree that with the Airbnb as a speaker, trust is really important to get people to come along with you?
Absolutely.
And then how do you build trust? How do you build trust as a speaker? I don't know you. You don't know me. I'm standing on stage. They read this bio. This bio sounds really, really good. But how do you as a facilitator gain trust of people that don't know who the ham sandwich you are?
Who the ham sandwich? You're a cool guy, man. So there's two parts to this. The first part is, what do you do from a personal brand standpoint so they know who you are before you get up on stage? The analogy I always like to give is Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson could go up on a stage, sit down, eat a ham sandwich, and do nothing. And people will still clap and cheer the whole time he's eating that ham sandwich, right? Because of the personal brand he's built before he gets on stage. So we can start to think through that as well, whether it's podcast appearances, whether it's having their own YouTube channel, whether it's creating your own content. How do you develop that personal brand before you get up there so they already love you? And then the other part of that is how do you build that same trust when you get there? I think the way that you do it is simple. Provide actionable insights that you've never heard before. For me, the definition of value is tell me something I don't already know. Right? So there's a lot of things that I talk about, like puzzle method. That's my trademark. I'm the one who invented that. Right? So people will go, whoa, like to me, this is not brand new. I'm explaining this for the 700th time. But somebody who's listening to this is like, holy crap, like puzzle, corners, middle, right? So that's the key. It's you build trust by delivering on your promise and by solving people's problems without taking a dime from them.
Brenden, before we wrap up to get out of here, how can my listeners get in contact with you?
Absolutely. Definitely the YouTube channel. All you got to do is type MasterTalk in one word and you'll find me right there.
All right. And what impact do you want to have on the world?
For me, the impact is very simple. Dale Carnegie, who's the author of the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, unfortunately wasn't born in the right time period of history, in the sense that he could have given so much more to the world with a YouTube channel, with him being on the show, with him sharing the layers of his personality. And I have this opportunity that Dale didn't. So my goal is to democratize the world's information on communication so that when I die, people can learn how to share their ideas with the world forever.
Wow, Brenden, powerful statement, man. I appreciate you hanging out with me, but that was the first part of the show. The second part is called the Super Bomb Questions, which is brought to you by Mountain Made. This is an opportunity for me to ask you some different questions. However, you're going to have to respond as quickly as possible. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, Brenden, what is your favorite word?
Insanity.
What's your favorite quote, Bible verse, or maybe a lyric to a song?
Be insane or be the same.
What's your superpower?
The ability to make the complex simple.
What's your spirit animal?
Oh, crap. It's probably eagle.
What moves you to tears of joy?
My mom.
What moves you to tears of sorrow?
My dad.
What do you should have more time to do?
More time to do. Probably play. I don't do that enough.
What guides your heart?
A legacy.
What's your morning routine outside of the biological things that we all do? What do you do different?
Ask yourself one hard question about life every single day, and in 30 days, you'll be a different human being.
Brenden, if you were in the Mr. Canada, because you're not in America, if you were in the Mr. Canada talent competition, Brenden, what would your talent be?
Karaokeing in 8 different languages.
Oh, Brenden, it has been an honor and a pleasure, brother, hanging out with a public speaker to public speaker. We are kindred spirits, man. Thank you for hanging out with me today.
Pleasure and honor was mine.
And I also want to thank my engineer, Alexander Blanc, my super duper producer, Nicole Klimpaka, Supremacy for our theme music, and all of you for listening. We cannot do this without you. Make sure you subscribe, stop being stingy, and share me with all of your friends, because we're on every platform. If you want to know more about me, go to drdrlds.com. And as always, believe that something wonderful is about to happen. But some people miss the message because they're too busy looking for the mess, but not you, because you have been tuning in to Sound Bombing. Peace.
The Super Bomb questions are brought to you by Mountain Made CBD. Mountain Made is changing the CBD game by offering a line of high-dose CBD tablets at an affordable price. Their products are THC-free and third-party tested for accuracy, cleanliness, and potency. Their products, which ship nationwide, include Build for CBD saturation, Boost for precision titration, and Recover for rest and rehab. With 9 years experience in hemp and fitness, Mountain Made's founders are focused on creating a quality product to help those who live an activated lifestyle. Check out mountainmade.life. Again, that's mountainmade.life to find out more about how their products can help you crush life. Remember, their products ship nationwide. Go check out their website today and follow them on social media at Mountain Made. That's the @ MNTMADE. Our staff at Sound Bombing uses Build before a morning workout, which helps to push our bodies to a whole new level on a daily basis. Try Build, try Boost, try Recover. Our staff is using these products to enhance our active lifestyle naturally, and we are crushing life with Mountain Made CBD, and you can too. Start today by going to mountainmade.life and ordering Build, Boost, Recover, or the multitude of other products that they have which will enhance your lifestyle. I promise you, you won't regret it.